Awesome. Hi, folks, and welcome back to Zoroverse. We are still here in Jamshed Baug in Navsari, and we have a very, very special guest with us. Once again, Mahfrin. Mahfrin, it is awesome to chat with you today. Mahfrin is a member of the California Zoroastrian Association, the Zoroastrian Association of California, ZAC for short, which is a super cute name, and is also a volunteer at the Return to Roots program. We are here on day 6 of the Return to Roots program, but since we've already covered the itinerary of day 6, I'm going to ask Mahfrin to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about what brought you back as a volunteer to the Return to Roots program, and also what did we do on perhaps your favorite day so far in the program.
All right. Thank you, Mirvan. My name, as he said, is Mahfrin Santoke. I'm from Orange County, California, member of Zoroastrian Association of California. I'm also the co-chair, co-chair for the Socials Committee of Zina and a Return to Roots volunteer. So what brought me back on this trip was I truly believe that this is one of the best initiatives that the Zoroastrian community has. We are so lucky to have this experience available to us in our community for young adults between the ages of 22 and 35 to actually go to India and hands-on experience where our roots came from. We can all watch a movie about it or read books about it, look at other people's pictures, but there's something incredibly special about going and doing it, participating, and seeing it all for yourself. So I had the most amazing experience, and I just felt like I came back an entirely different person, which is why I felt very strongly that I had to continue being a part of this program as a volunteer.
That is so awesome. I'm so glad to hear. And yeah, I think we are also going to speak to Sherzad, who is a volunteer at some point, and Sherry, as when I spoke to him before, had a very, very similar, like transformative in some sense experience. So which RTR program were you a part of first, and how do you think this one is a little bit different from the one that you're currently experiencing?
I went on the last RTR 6, which was in March of 2020. I'm sure that date stands out to everybody, March of 2020. We all know what happened then. So I left California when COVID was just, like an idea. People knew it was there. No one thought much of it. We were in Udvada when it was declared a pandemic. And starting on the next days when people started leaving, I was one of the last to leave. I made it all the way till the second to last day of the trip. Nobody made it till the last day. We had to cancel lots of activities. So that in itself was unique. But I think the thing that was most different for me from that trip to this trip is on that particular trip, it was a much smaller group, and I was one of 2 participants from the United States. This one is full of participants from the United States and Canada. So I also I knew a lot of the people on this trip before. The only ones I knew last time were the volunteers that I'd met at congresses. So it's a different, just a different dynamic. This trip is a lot younger than the last trip. I think majority of people on this trip are in their early 20s. Majority of the people on my trip are in their early 30s. So it's a different dynamic. It's a different experience. Like, it's the same, but it's different. So I think that's another thing that keeps it really fresh, is that the group and the people that you're around are a huge part of everything. And that's a huge part of the experience too.
Fascinating. So how many people were there in RTR 6, just out of curiosity, and they're like 25 like participants, non-volunteer participants in RTR 7?
I want to say, and I could be wrong, it was somewhere in the ballpark of 18, counting the volunteers. It was in the ballpark of 18.
Including the volunteers. Okay, so that's like significant, maybe like 50 or 70% bigger for RTR 7. Fascinating.
And I do want to say part of the reason we did have people drop out because COVID was becoming an idea, and those who were concerned about traveling were probably smart. But that was one of the reasons we had people.
Got it. Awesome. And if we could just ask to recount your favorite day of the trip so far, which one that was, and
So day 3 in Mumbai comes to mind. I think Mumbai is my favorite part of this trip. I love Udvada and Surat and Navsari, but Mumbai is special to me. So one of the things that was that I loved about day 3, we started the day at Ashdeen's. That, for one thing, was something we did not do last time on my trip because Ashdeen's shop was not open in 2020. It's a brand new shop. Also, his stuff is so beautiful. It's probably the only time in my life I will be draped up in one of his garas. I don't know if I'll ever have that opportunity. And he himself put it on me. So, I mean, to be having a gara put on me by Ashdeen himself was something that was just incredible. And I really enjoyed taking all the pictures with everybody. I think the guys were bored, so I'm sorry if you guys were just sitting around holding bags as we draped ourselves and took pictures and saris. But I think the reason why it's special to me too is Ashdeen is a type of an artist, as am I. I'm a musician. He's a textile artist, so I really have great appreciation for his work. And I'm really glad that people are seeing the value in his work, that they're like, it's almost the Parsi gara and the Parsi design is so iconic, and people see the value in what he's doing. So that's really encouraging for me. So after we went to Ashdeen's, we went over to Britannia for lunch, which I remembered very clearly from my last trip, just how good it was. The berry palau is what they're known for, and it's amazing. The boys, which is the fried fish, which is so good. So just had this huge lunch. I ate so much, I didn't even eat dinner that night. I just skipped it because the lunch was just so fabulous. Once again, it's also great seeing a Parsi restaurant thriving so much. I believe it's an Irani owner of a Parsi cuisine, and his restaurant is always just packed, which is, it's so great that, and it's not packed with Parsis, it's packed with, all kinds of Indians. So it's so great that people have an appreciation for our food. And then after Britannia's, we went over to Dadar at the Athornan Institute for just like a casual chat with the Empowering Mobeds initiative. And they talked to us about some of the very real challenges that the Mobeds face. And I think it's important for us to realize that if our Mobeds face challenges, we face challenges. Because if we want access to our religion and our ceremonies, then we have to take care of our Mobeds. So it was just good to hear the story straight from them. I think when it comes to these types of topics, what most people know is just the he said, she said. It's like, oh, somebody told me that in India it's like this. It's like, oh, no, I heard in India. It's like nobody really has concrete information unless they've gone and directly talked to these people. So I just feel like what I learned, I feel very confident that that is the real situation and the real story, and it gives me a better vision or a better path on how I can help the situation, because I heard it directly from them, and what they need in terms of support, which was really helpful to us, for those of us who want to support.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think one of the takeaways from that panel would be for you, like very specific takeaways that you...
The thing that kept coming up from all their stories and all the stories of the participants from other parts in the world is that we need to respect our Mobeds as members of our own community, not just for the ceremonies that they do for us. So if you're calling them for a ceremony, yeah, you're calling them for a service, but you can't treat them as the same way you treat somebody who does another service in your house. Like the person who comes to fix your leaky faucet is providing you a service, but you can't treat your Mobed the same way. You have to treat him as a member of your community. And I think that would go a very long way in just, preserving what they can do for us. I do think in my community back home we treat them well, but it can always be better, because they work harder than we can imagine.
I can't say anything more than I wholeheartedly agree with that takeaway. I think it's only when I really started getting involved with the international Zoroastrian community that I realized that, oh, that's possible and that's a thing. Because in Karachi, perhaps it's because of the lack of Mobed power that we have in quantity of Mobeds, that it is difficult to see them, interact with them as much at social events, or whenever we do interact with them, there's this kind of formality that it kind of restricts that organic, friendly interaction. And it's only when I started speaking to people who I first met at Friends and like World Congresses and like youth congresses, and then realizing like weeks later, or maybe even like still I don't know which one of them are Mobeds. And the idea is that I think that's a better way of going about it, for the simple reason that you want the person doing your ceremony to have a special connection with you. You want to have a special connection with that person. And if I can ask the Mobed as my friend to do my wedding or my children's navjot, or just come by to my house and like perform a jashan with us there's something so divinely special for me, at least, about it, because like I feel connected to that person, and I know that Mobed, or whenever they're in that space of ritual, they will like wholeheartedly engage with that ritual. And I think it's, as you mentioned, like there are in a world where transactional service is so common and so prevalent because of the forces of money that exist, like we remove that community aspect, or we just don't get involved, or we don't see it as a community, as a bonding experience. And I think that's something that I really took away with as well, and I really wanted to resonate that.
Yeah, I think we all feel like that way.
Awesome. Shall we quickly transition into like the next segment of the interview? I know that you mentioned, as we were talking about, Ashdeen's, which is a sari and gara store, and a very, very well decorated, very fine and exquisite sari and gara store, which I think people would love to visit from all over the world, or at least own an Ashdeen is what they call it. At that point, you mentioned that you're interested in the arts, and I'm so curious to hear more about that, Mahfrin. So
I myself, I'm a musician. I'm a classical musician. I play flute and piccolo, orchestral flute and piccolo. So music and arts in general are just very special to me, and I really want our community to see the value of music and arts, and I think the way we need to go about that is making it very relevant to what today's consumer wants. I think Ashdeen has done a fabulous job with that by staying true to what the original designs were, but still making them very, very accessible. And I don't mean accessible in terms of like easy to get one or buy one, but in terms of easy to understand, like for just, young people today, or I mean anybody today, any Parsis today. So that's what I'm really hoping to do with music.
Wonderful. Okay. Wow. So tell us more about this, because it seems like the first thing that you think about when you think of Zoroastrianism is a lot of things, but it's probably not music. So what would it mean in some sense for like music to be Zoroastrian, and how are you trying to, like, was there some kind of historical legacy of Zoroastrian music per se? Is that something that you want to reinvent, build on, or start off with something?
Yeah, we do have Zoroastrian music, but like you said, you mentioned Zoroastrian music, most people will have no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe, if I'm lucky, they've heard of Chaya Mejar Dosti, and that's it. So we do have hymns, just like any other religion or church. We have our own music, and I think the reason people don't listen to it is that it's not accessible to the modern ear. Like, once again, I'm not talking about accessible in terms of you can't get it. Like, yeah, it's easy to find online, to download it, but it's not accessible to our ears. So I feel very strongly that this needs to change. I play in an orchestra that has a very strong religious connotation. The directors are very practicing Mormons, they're Christians, and they take their Christian hymns like Amazing Grace, simple hymn, and have completely revamped it to to the point that, yeah, you recognize it, this is Amazing Grace, but what's all this orchestration and all like these choirs and all these harmonies and everything? So my vision for the music that we have is to revamp it so that people who are used to modern day music would like to listen to it. I'm sure those of us who want to have traditional ceremonies, weddings, navjots would love to incorporate our own music. But like for me personally, the musician in me would say absolutely not, because the music itself doesn't have the value. And I'm not saying that it's bad or that the people who have recorded in the past are bad. It's just outdated at this point. So if we want people listening to our music, we need to revamp it. And I feel very passionate about this. And it is a project I'm hoping to take on. And I think I wouldn't even know where to start, but it is something that I do have a direction to go in, and I really feel strongly that we need this in our community so that people actually listen to it and they want to listen to it and know what it is and what's out there.
That is absolutely fascinating, and it's just amazing to hear that we're trying to bring these different elements of what it means to be a Zoroastrian together, from the arts, from like textiles to music, which all kind of blend into this idea of creativity and being able to, I think, keep our tradition more than alive, but in some sense thriving. So I'm so glad to hear about this, because even when I search up like on Spotify, sometimes I'm bored and I'm like, okay, I just look at like Zoroastrian music or Zoroastrian something and I hope something pops up, but there's really only like just one or two search results or very few search results. So it's not very accessible in the sense that it's not very, I don't know where to start. So where do you think, for a person who wants to listen to Zoroastrian music right now, even at this point, what kind of songs can they listen to? Is there such a thing yet? Or if not, how can they be involved with like working with you or thinking with you?
So the only way that I know they can listen to it, I believe they are posted on YouTube. I think many years ago somebody did record them. She did a really good job for the resources she had. If I really want to take on this project, we would need some pretty sophisticated resources, which she just didn't have. But that would give a start to the kind of music we're looking at. The thing with hymns, any hymns, whether they're Zoroastrian hymns or Christian hymns, is melodically they're very simple. So they give you a lot of room to do things with orchestration and style and stuff, because the actual melodies tend to be very simple. So that's not usually a problem to work with. You have just a lot of room for creativity when you have just a simple melody. So there is stuff on YouTube. As for being involved in this project, I mean, anyone who has any know-how or interest can really probably be involved. I think the biggest challenge is going to be people to rewrite the music, like write the scores and the parts, decide what style we want to go for. Do we want to go for classical? Do we want to go for pop? Do we want to go for jazz? Like, if you compare what we have to Christians have classical, they have Christian rock, an entire genre of rock, Christian rock music like exists out there. They have Christian pop, they have everything. They even have rap, like they have every single genre. So it's like, what route do we want to go? Do we want to go classical? Do we want to just go to easy listening? So there's just a whole world of opportunities for us, and we can do whatever our community wants with it.
That is so heartening to hear, to be very, very honest. That is so heartening to hear. And I think we do often have this perception of like hymns being strictly used for religious purposes. And I think there is some value to that, but also to like move beyond this aspect of the few preserved ideas that we have and reinvent them every time. I think from a course that I took in like Indian classical music and Western classical music, I learned that the two of them have a very different philosophy in the way that they're set up, because Western classical music has a kind of precision where you want to replicate the exact piece that Mozart or Beethoven like came up with or Bach came up with. But for Indian classical music, there is this kind of freedom of tone and pitch and variation and excitement that you can bring to the table, where you have like a kind of scaffold and then you build the structure or the building around that. Do you think these concepts apply to Zoroastrian music, or is there such a thing in the Zoroastrian context, to be more technical?
I don't know that I can say, because I don't know the history of the music. I only know what I've heard. Usually when I hear it, honestly, it's like auntie and uncle from our association put on a karaoke track and sing along. That's the context I've heard it in. So my assumption would be it started more like Indian classical. It was probably improvised a lot. That would be my assumption. But that's really all I can comment on that.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that, Mahfrin. And it seems like there is so much potential to get work done and to get like our community's name as something more than a community just living, and perhaps a community thriving out there. That's really wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing about your own interests and involvement in the community. I did want to segue into the final section of the program, which is the 72 questions from the 72 chapters that we have. I will not ask you all 72, but perhaps just 3 or 4. Perhaps you could pick a number from 1 to 72, and I can pop out the Google document where I have a list of these questions. And
My favorite number is 7, so let's go with 7.
Okay, so number 7. This is a philosophical one. The question is, Zarathustra proclaims that the ultimate end for the righteous is eternal life. He says perfection and immortality is the words that he uses in translation. How do you think our thoughts, words, and deeds change our course of existence in such a profound way?
So I think of the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is that somewhere at the other end of the world, a butterfly can just flap their wings at the right moment in the right spot, and it can result in like a tornado or a hurricane, tornado, some water disaster in another part of the world. So it's like every little thing we do, our thoughts, our words, and our deeds is contributing to the energy of the world. Because if you just think of it in a very common sense, sort of simple terms, if you're in a surroundings where people are thinking good thoughts, speaking good words, and doing good deeds, you are going to be motivated to do the same. You are going to be happier. You are going to feel motivated to also do good thoughts, good words, good deeds. You're going to have a better vision for the future. You're just going to be more optimistic on everything. And I think every negative thing kind of pulls the people around you down. So if our goal is to eventually get to this perfection, I believe we call it farshokarity in Zoroastrianism, if that's our goal, then we do need to eliminate the bad thoughts, bad words, and bad deeds, because that leads to more. Like one bad word leads to another bad word. One bad deed leads to another bad deed. Kind of like how they say, you can never just tell one lie. You have to tell another lie to support that lie. And then you tell another lie to support that lie. It could never just be one. It always leads to more.
Fascinating. Yeah, I think I completely resonate with that. And I think it's so important for us to like recognize that just a change in vibration in our pitch in our voice, or like the kind of like thought vibrations that we have in our mind, or like the vibrations that we emit through our actions, quite literally, as you said, change the fabric of the universe just a little bit. And over the course of 70 years, you've done 70 multiplied by thousands and thousands and thousands of these actions and words and thoughts. So yeah, thank you so much for that answer. Very, very cool. Let's do another question.
Sure.
Do you have a number in mind?
Let's do 20.
20, okay. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. Tell us about your Navjot or initiation ceremony, if you experienced one.
Yeah, my Navjot was a lot of fun. It was in India, in Baug. I was 7 years old. I took off 3 months of school in 2nd grade. My parents pulled me out of school for 3 months to take us to India. And what's funny is 3 years before that, they pulled my brother out of school for 3 months for his Navjot, and we had the same teacher. So it was kind of like when I got into this teacher's class, it's like, oh, remember when we did this with Hanos? We went off to India for 3 months. Yeah, we're doing the same thing now. So it was here in India. At the time, I was 7, so I was very young. You know, to me, it was just kind of a thing that you do, and thing I always looked forward to, kind of this special event just for you. I remember before the preparations, going, buying the dress, learning my prayers. And then, it's not like I had much of a say in it or anything. I just, went, and I just knew this is the thing I was going to do. It was a lot of fun. My cousins were there. The food, the patru, was amazing. So I still, I have pictures that I look at, and I think that makes the memories a little bit more vivid. But yeah, it was a good time.
And did you drink the Nirol?
I did. So I was told that you don't drink it, you just touch your tongue to it. So I didn't swallow, which is acceptable. I mean, I got my nojo done.
I think I was told the same thing as well, and I think that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
So,
now they're saying you have to swallow.
All right.
Big gulp.
All right. I'm gonna request some then from Navsari.
Yeah, because we didn't do it right at our nojo, so we have to redo it now.
Perhaps. Maybe I took a mini sip, but I don't think my sister did, so I'm gonna have to take some back.
At your wedding.
Let's wrap up with the final question. Feeling any number in particular?
Let's do 9.
9. Okay. So 1 to 10 are more philosophical questions, and 10 to 20 are more like the personal questions. So you've been hanging around in the philosophical block. The question is, what does it mean for a person to be wise?
Well, there's a lot of different types of wisdom. And for a person to be wise, it's very determined on the situation that you're judging them on. You can be very wise in the sense that you're very well educated. You can be wise around people. You could be wise just like when it comes to social interactions. So I think, was the question specifically for a person to be wise, or just was wisdom?
Just for a person to be
for a
wise,
person to be wise.
What does it mean to be wise as a character trait?
I think it's very determined on that situation. It's a person who knows how to address the situation at hand, is someone that I would consider wise. It's that they read the room, they understand the context of whatever it is they're trying to deal with, and they're able to deal with that situation. I see that as one of the most important types of wisdom.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mahfrin.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You know what we do?
Push that thing.
But also, we just wanted to express gratitude and say thanks to a friend of ours on the Return to Roots trip who has taken out time of her busy schedule, could be resting, could be doing anything else, but has chosen to help us with the videography. Maya, come on stage, please, and say hi, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Maya. What else have I got to say?
Come here.
I just feel honoured to be able to be a part of this, and I feel like I've learned more about our religion in the past 5 days than I have in the last 23 years of life, thanks to the kind of amazing, interesting people we've met along the way, and I'm so excited for the next part of it. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thanks, Maya.
Stay tuned.